Wait, I go for Facebook Live.
Okay. Maha done?
Wait.
Okay, Maha.
Let me I'm here.
Maha, we need to start
Okay,
now.
start.
Okay. Welcome everybody. Okay, I'm Nirmala here, and this is a special program by Lisha Women's Wing in conjunction with World Animal Day, which falls on the 4th of October. Okay, the reason I did this program is to create awareness of why animals need our help and what else we can do and to celebrate them. So everybody have a part to play in their welfare because they only depending on us to help them. And I don't want to waste time because we have 4 speakers now. Anbu from ACRES, Tenuga and Safia from Cat Welfare Society, and Meishan from JOYOUS Bark. Okay, so before I do that, I invite our chair lady Joyce Kingsley to give an introduction speech and welcoming speech. Joyce.
Thank you, Nimi. Hello, everyone. Good evening on a beautiful Sunday. Thank you so much for joining our event today. Lisha Women's Wing, Celebrate the Animals. Okay, this, of course, we had big plans for this day. Last year retreat, during our Lisha Women's Wing Exco retreat, we actually planned to meet up with our pets. You know, we had such big plans, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic situation, we have to narrow down our plans greatly. We have so much of restrictions to even meet as a crowd. So here we are on a virtual event. Nevertheless, we have great speakers today. And this event is actually conducted in conjunction with the World Animal Day that's coming on October 4th. And the mission of the World Animal Day, as what Nimi said, to raise the standards of animals in order to improve welfare standards around the globe. Mission of the World Animal Day, as what Nimi said, to raise the... Someone's echoes. Okay, never mind. So I am truly grateful to the 3 expert speakers who are on board with us today. Ms. Anbarasi Bhupal, Deputy Chief Executive ACRES. ACRES as in Animal Concerns Research and Education Society. Wow, truly a pleasure to have you with us today. Sophia Mohammed, the mediator, and Tenuga Vijay Kumar, volunteer from the Cat Welfare Society. Thank you so much to both of you. And Meishan, volunteer from the JOYOUS Bark Dog Shelter. So cute, the names, you know, Cat Welfare Society, JOYOUS Bark Dog Shelter. How cute. Yeah. Thank you. Truly appreciate your presence with us today. And it'll be lovely to know how we can actually help animals and also why we should help animals. I should also thank, on the behalf of Lisha Women's Wing, I would like to thank the support of Nature Watch Foundation. Thank you so much. And of course, a very big thank you to our organizing chair, Nimi. She is an animal lover, needless to say. She's so passionate about animals, okay? She fights for their rights. She cares for them. She knows their every pain. We have seen her actually bringing food for the stray dogs. We have seen her even saving cockroaches. We have seen her guarding the angst line up. You know, she's that passionate about animals, insects, whatnot. So such a beautiful soul, Nimi, and she loves animals, and it is her passion that to even today's event is put together with so much of care. And look at her, she's so excited. She's truly happy to be organizing this. So thank you so much, Nimi, for all the efforts. And so I grew up with a lot of animals as well. I had pets in my, I had cats, dogs, rabbits, birds, terrapins, whatnot. I've had everything. Grew up with a good experience with all kinds of pets. Now life has gotten busy, and so I would like to know how to help animals. If we are not able to adopt a pet, then how else can we help and care for animals? And my personal advice is, of course, if you should only adopt a pet only if you are able to care for it, only if you are able to spend time with it. Do not adopt a pet just for the interest of 1 or 2 days and then let the animal suffer. So it'll be better off in a care of another person's home who is able to spend the time with the pet. So without further ado, let me let the program continue. And I would also like to, I'm happy to announce that Lisha Women's Wing will be giving a small donation of $300 each to each organization who is with us today, the 3 organizations. Something small from us, and thanks to Nimi for coordinating that as well. So I without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you to my EXCO for organizing this event.
Thank you so much, Joyce. Thank you. Okay, shall we go on to the first speaker?
Sure.
Okay, this event was done in conjunction with the World Animal Day in UK. So our event, they'll let us post it. They're supposed to set us a flag also. The flag is on the way. Okay, so I'll introduce the first speaker, Anvaresi Bhupal. I know Luis, he calls you Anbu also, and she's a Deputy Chief Executive of ACRES. She oversees the education, fundraising, animal crime investigation, and the campaign projects at ACRES. So with her 15 years of experience in this field and an educational background in life sciences and environmental management, her interest lies in empowering members of the public on ways to make a difference for the animals and environment, and working towards changes at the policy level that will help make life better for the animals. Okay, she started off as a volunteer 14 years ago. Wow. Okay, I strongly believe that every individual can play an effective role in protecting our environment and the animals. That's what I want. Thank you. Anbu, take over.
Thank you so much, Nimi, and a very big thanks to Lisha and Joyce for the great opening as well. And we are very grateful for this opportunity and also the support through the donation. Let me start sharing. I hope you all can see the slides. I'm quite thrilled to be here for the World Animal Day, which is every year 4th of October. And this is really to bring all the individuals to come together who like animals. Because many people who like animals, they may not exactly know how they can translate their love to action for the animals. And this World Animal Day platform does that, to empower individuals like all of you here who are here on a Sunday evening to learn about how you can take action for the animals. So just to give a very quick introduction to ACRES, what we do at ACRES is basically speak up for the animals, because they don't speak the language that we can understand, but they need help everywhere. So this is a very cute representation of the work that we do. We were founded in 2001. We are turning 20 years next year, and was founded by a group of people here in Singapore. And our mission is really to create a society where animals are treated as sentient beings. We believe that all animals can feel, just like you and I. None of us want pain or suffering. So the animals will always avoid suffering and pain. But again, in the world, unfortunately, because of human actions, and they need the help, but they cannot. They're crying out for help, but we cannot understand and hear them, right? So this is the work that we do. And we do this through different focus areas. One is we have an animal crime investigation. So we tackle the wildlife trade issue, illegal wildlife trade issue, where people smuggle wild animals or their parts into Singapore. And we also do 24-hour wildlife rescue and rehabilitation, whether it's a pigeon or it's a raptor or an otter, all these animals are seen to us. If they are in distress, we go down to help them. We promote cruelty-free living, which I'm going to talk more about today because the rest of the focus areas might require organizations or government bodies to do something. But promoting cruelty-free lifestyle requires you to take action to help animals directly.
1 minute, Anbu. Sorry, 1 minute, Anbu. Can everybody mute their mics, please? Please, everybody. Maha, can you mute, please? From my side, I cannot mute. So there's a lot of disturbance there. Sorry,
Correct,
Anbu.
correct.
Done
Okay,
ready.
everybody mute.
Nimi, done ready.
Done ready, Nimi.
Okay. Okay, so I will continue. The other work that we do is humane education. So my colleague Edwina is in the audience as well today. So we do education work at the schools, at universities, at corporate offices. So if any of your companies wants us to come and give a talk, we can do that as well. And to children also visit here. Obviously during this COVID period, we couldn't have visits, but we still do virtual education programs. Community outreach is where individuals like you can play a role. So it doesn't have to be the 20 crazy people who do the work here, but a lot of volunteers play a very important role in the work that we do, not just for ACRES. I think CWS is run by volunteers. So volunteers play a very important role for the animals and the community work that we do. So why you and why animals, right? So many of us may go for the ethical reasons because for humanity itself, it's our capability to help other animals, other species. So we shouldn't let that go to waste. So if we can, let's help, whether it's humans, animals, or environment. So one thing I just wanted to touch before I go on to the next, I have another 10 slides to show, is that individuals make a big difference for animals. We don't always need to have organizations around to do things. If everyone can do something, then a lot of work that is done by us can actually go down. So that is the ultimate objective. Our founder actually says that the ultimate goal for ACRES is to run out of business over time. That means we have gone in the right direction. So the first step for you is to be aware and then practice in your own lifestyle and then be a catalyst, be an advocate for the cause that is close to your heart. So I'm just going to share about 10 ways you can help animals directly. So it's going to be action points. Even though we are a wildlife rescue center, we believe all animals can feel. This is actually a vegetarian premises for humans, not for animals, because we believe that all animals can suffer and feel pain. So one of the things that many of us may not know is millions of animals suffer for cosmetic testing and product testing. So, but there are products that are not tested on animals. Probably some of you are aware here, but maybe some of you are not. But one of the things that you can do is look for a logo, which is this leaping bunny, because many of us who even keep rabbits might not be aware that rabbits are most often tested. The chemicals are dripped into their eyes, onto their skin, and they are repeatedly used. And it's very painful, cruel method, and we don't need it anymore. There are products that are not tested on animals, not just toothpaste, the first thing in the morning, or cosmetic products, even laundry detergents, dishwashing detergent, softeners, they are all tested on animals. So when you go to a supermarket and shop next time, please choose products that are not tested on animals. It is affordable. This screenshot was taken from Fair Price's website. So it is available. I have shopped so much in Little India before, which are actually cruelty-free and not tested on animals, which is great. And accessories, a lot of us may not be aware that leather is not a byproduct from meat industry. As a teenager, my first win for the animals was, I was a teenager, so you know your blood boils, right, when something goes wrong. I went and lie down in front of a truck that was carrying buffaloes for slaughter for leather. This was in India. So this is to stop, but I actually prolonged the suffering for the animals. But we knew that the animals were going to be slaughtered for the leather, and most of the cheap leather comes from India. And these animals are retiring farm animals who have helped us get our food, and they end up in a slaughterhouse for the leather. But there is other ways that you can help, not just cows, cattle who get into the leather industry, but also wild animals. Singapore actually imported in the past 9 years over 1 million skins, wild caught monitor lizard skins. You can even find them legally on Carousel. So we can say no to these products because there is alternative available. There are fashionable leather looking things that are not made from animals. There's even pineapple leather. So most often we think that helping animals may stop with keeping a dog or donation or volunteering, but actually you can go even further with these very simple ways through your lifestyle choices that will directly help the animals. So it's also fashionable, it's affordable, it's only $39, and it's durable, just like leather. So making kinder food choices, I think many of us know, many of us also practice vegetarianism or veganism. I just want to show this image because egg is something that we all commonly consume. So this is an A4 size paper, and egg-laying hen who lives in a typical farm gets only this much space, A4 size paper size living conditions when they are living in a battery hen. So something like this. So this is all she gets in her whole life when she's laying eggs for us. So, but again, there is alternative. This is from a local farm, which is called Freedom Range or cage-free eggs that are available. That's slightly better, and it's also slightly affordable recently. Before it was more expensive. So there's also a lot of kinder food choices that are delicious as well. If you're really into meat taste, you can still find plant-based meat products that are not too processed, but they are from the plant sources. I have tried most of them, but I am not into meat because I was born in a vegetarian family. So I have no story to tell, but I turned vegan recently and I cook most of the time on my own. And Singapore is one of the best places to go plant-based. You have so many options available. I mean, I cook Indian most of the time, and by default, many of the dishes are actually vegetarian or vegan. So it is very easy to be kind to animals through what we put on our plate to eat. And if you are into fitness and you have certain dietary needs, or if you have certain allergy and certain dietary needs, this is a local website, crf.org.sg. They actually have starter kits for you to look at and download the recipes and the information as well. So I'm not going to touch more on this because I think we will talk about it later. And I heard from Joyce as well, I think many of us are aware that please don't shop for animals, whether it's a bird or any other animal companion whom you want to have as a part of your family. There is really no need for breeding. And when you go as a tourist, when you travel, this is not going to happen this year with the COVID, but next year when you start traveling and touring around, make animal-friendly choices. Please don't ride on wild animals. A lot of animals suffer from being captured from the wild and then trained to perform unnatural behavior like this. There is nothing educational about it. And we also campaigned against Resorts World Sentosa keeping wild caught dolphins from Solomon Islands here. They are still working as we speak. We definitely do not encourage you to visit or support such facilities. There are also these popular owl cafes and wildlife exotic cafe where you can pet a wild animal and then have your meal there. Please do not support these facilities. And these are some of the exotic animal cafes in the region, mainly in Japan and Taiwan as well, increasingly coming up in Indonesia. Remember that people are doing this not because they want to be cruel to animals. They're doing this because people are still willing to pay money. So if we do not pay money and support such facilities, the cruelty will also end. So where else can I see animals? Are you telling me that I cannot watch and learn about wild animals? The answer is there are other options. There is this place in Chiang Mai in Thailand. There are also wild rescue centers, and there are also places where you can watch them in the wild. I have watched dolphins in the wild in Bali, and it was a most amazing experience. We have wild dolphins in Singapore, if some of you do not know. And also going to nature places, there are a lot of nature appreciation walks in Singapore by Nature Society, Herpetological Society of Singapore. They do actually free nature walks, guided walks. You can even sight wild snakes, birds. So if any of your kids want to go and learn about native wildlife in Singapore, just go and check out their pages, sign up for the nature walks, go and learn about them. So I've come to the last part of my presentation, which is, what do you do when you see a snake in the house? What do you do when you see a wild boar? A monkey is visiting my garden every day and stealing my food. What do you do? So for these cases, please go and learn about the coexistence. We do have advisory sheets on our website, what to do, what not to do when you come across wild animals, because Singapore is becoming a garden city. So we are putting more greenery. So you have to remember that when there's greenery, it's never going to be just butterflies and flowers. So if there are insects, lizards will come. To eat the lizards, garden snakes will come. So we cannot get rid of some animals and have only some animals. Biodiversity comes as a whole. So we ask people not to push for removal. A lot of times during rescue, we see people tying up lizards, putting glue trap for animals, not just, cats also get stuck on it. Sometimes anyone who gets into it can get stuck. And it's a very slow, painful death for the animal who gets stuck on it. So we ask people to coexist with our community animals. There are ways to do it. We just have to learn. We have no way to train the animals, but usually animals will avoid trouble with humans. So we have to learn to avoid trouble too. So that's in our hands. And one of the important things is not to feed wild animals. So please don't feed pigeons, monkeys, and wild pigs. So because that will affect their behavior. And there are people who may not like animals and they will go and complain about them. And pigeons get poisoned on a daily basis in Singapore because of overpopulation of pigeons here. It's mainly because of people feeding them. So there are different ways that you can help. But just remember, you can note down our 24-hour hotline. This is for wildlife rescue only. So we don't handle companion animals like cats, dogs, hamsters, rabbits, guinea pigs. But we handle wildlife. So if there is an injured pigeon or any other wild bird or a snake, monitor lizard, pangolin, musang, like civet, wild boar, monkey who's injured, you can give us a call. And if you see people selling, illegal stuff, whether it's tiger tooth or rhino horn or a snake as a pet or an exotic turtle as a pet, you can email us also or call us also. So, and if you see cruelty on social media, report it, flag it. And if you have something that one of these issues is really close to your heart, please speak up about it. Write to specific people by writing a polite letter. It always helps because a lot of time the government only hears complaints. When people who care about animals may not write to them, they need to hear from people who care. A lot of people like you care about animals. We just need to speak up a little bit more. So thank you so much for your time today. And I hope you will take the leap today to start making animal-friendly choices in your daily lifestyle. And thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Anwar. That was great. I learned so many things. Okay, we'll go on to the next person, and later at the end we'll have some question and answers. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, the next speaker is Tenuga. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi, Tenuga. You and Safia can start.
Yep, okay. So
Okay,
our slides are coming up. Basically what we'll do is we'll just go through very quickly what CWS does, who we are, our work. We'll talk about, what we, excuse me, why people should care about community animals. So community animals are different from wildlife, which is what Anbu was talking about. We are talking more about the cats specifically, and I believe the speaker after me will be talking about dogs. And we'll close off with how you can help. So if you look at the slide that should be on your screen now, CWS stands for the Cat Welfare Society. We're a society that was started in 1999. We are a registered charity, and we're also an institute of public character. Now, we have an annual spend of over $700,000, which is, if you ask me, if I wasn't aware of CWS and you tell me $700,000 to care for cats, I'd lose my mind. I think that's quite a high number. And I'll explain to you, why our work is so expensive and what we do, how it impacts the cats in Singapore. So, Maha, sorry, if you could please go back to what does CWS do? I think you've scrolled too far. Maha, please could you go to the slide that says what does CWS do?
I will share it again.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, from the beginning. Is this the first slide?
No, up please.
One second. Correct?
No, it's the slide that says what does CWS do? It's the third slide.
Okay.
Sorry, it's slide number 5 on your list.
Okay. This is first slide, second,
Yes.
third. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is Safia. Safia is a mediator with the Cat Welfare Society, and she's going to take you through the 4 pieces of work that we do.
Okay, so firstly, our focus is sterilization. Why we do sterilization is because we believe it's the most humane option to manage the community cat population in Singapore. It's a 4-step process: track, neuter, return, and manage. In a short form, we call it PNRM, and it's successfully implemented island-wide. What happens is that why we choose sterilization is because it helps to manage the community cat numbers, and in turn, it reduces the burden or the load that community caregivers need to do to take care of the community cats in the area. And yeah, second thing we do is mediation.
Next slide, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, one after. One after.
One more. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So for mediation, the previous slide, basically, it's a process that we do to resolve cat-related feedback. So we work with different stakeholders to do this. In 2009, we resolved over 3,000 cases. And the issues can range from irresponsible cat ownership to littering. Littering in terms of leftover food and things like that we can find along the void decks and stuff. So we do advocate for responsible feeding of community cats as well. We do a 3-step resolution process before the case is turned over to authorities for penalties to be carried out. So what happens is that for responsible pet owners, we advocate for responsible pet ownership, but at the same time, if there's irresponsible acts of ownership that occurs, you also want penalties to take place. So yeah. The next one is advocacy. Thank you. Yeah. Advocacy is a process by which we push for humane cat management and cat ownership as well as caregiving. So we do this through our mediation and as well as education. Yeah, so okay. So back to advocacy. Our power is that we have specialized knowledge in resolving cat-related feedback because of the amount of work we do on the ground. As mentioned before, in 2009, we resolved over 3,000 cases. So our mediators are very apt in handling such feedback. And we also educate masses on responsible cat ownership practices. For education, we obviously educate for what we advocate about, which is responsible cat ownership and responsible cat caregiving. So when we have a community that takes care of cats, pet cats and community cats responsibly, we reduce the number of feedback and complaints that we receive, and in turn we can create a community that are humane towards the animals in our community lah. Yeah.
So just jumping in here, that's the 4 pillars of work that we do: sterilization, mediation, education, and advocacy. So the reason we do it is because, I mean, like all other animal welfare groups, I think, we also believe in a humane society. We specifically believe that every cat should have a home, whether it's inside somebody's home itself, a residence, or in the community. No animal should be treated in a way such that it has to fear for its life. You know, like somebody wants to remove it or relocate it. It shouldn't have that fear. It's part of the community. It should continue living in the community. So through mediation work, we want to be able to, what's the word for it? We want to be able to find and teach people that they can coexist with our community animals, whether it's cats or dogs, right? They must be able to share the community because it doesn't belong only to human beings. Now, the reason that we do so much sterilization, and over 60% of our annual spend is on sterilization, is because we will have fewer cats that are being born and have to be managed by caregivers, right? When you have fewer cats, but you have the same number of caregivers or increasing resources, the amount of resource per cat increases. So for example, at the start, if you have 10 cats and you only had $10, everybody had $1 each. With sterilization, instead of that 10 cats becoming 20 cats, 30 cats, and then, you know, with that same $10, it's less money for each cat. With sterilization, as cats pass on from old age and stuff, the number 10 will reduce. Let's say it's 5. Every cat now has $2. It's more resources for each animal. And that's what we're trying to achieve with sterilization. As long as there's more resources, the cat's quality of life should theoretically be better. So to that end, we've done almost 46,000 sterilizations in 10 years. We as an organization don't do the surgeries. We actually pay for it. We also pay for the trapping services, and we pay mediators to go out and help resolve matters so that it's a full cycle. There's a number of cats that's fixed. Slowly over time, it will decrease. And at the same time, mediation teaches us how to coexist with the animals. So in 2018, we sterilized like this huge number of animals, 6,200. In 2019, it dropped to 3,000 plus because we had a funding issue. In 2020, we're looking at, I think we'll probably hit about 5,000. 4,400 is my estimate, but with the requests that have come in, even in the last, 1 month, we're seeing a lot of requests for workers' dorms. We're seeing a lot of requests for industrial areas. I think we'll quite easily hit 5,000. I have to find the money for it, obviously. So we have to go based on that. Now, if you move to the next slide, you will see what we call the impoundments and culling rate. Now, in Singapore, historically, when a cat is removed, the cat ends up at the pound, which is, last time it was called AVA, now it's at ABS. When SARS began in 1999-2000, at that time, you can see the number of cats that were put down, that were impounded, that means brought into the pound. And at that time, rehoming wasn't a big deal, right? So most of these cats would end up being put down, i.e. killed. 27,500 in 1 year. If you do the math, it's a staggering number of deaths every single day because we didn't, as a society, know how to choose the humane option. After a lot of work, the sterilization, the mediation, the education, the advocacy, you can see in the last 3 years, sorry, the slide before, please. You can see in the last 3 years, the number of impoundments has actually dropped below the 1,000 mark. And when you drop below the 1,000 mark, can you imagine? We've done so much work that we have, from whatever number that was every day, it's under 3 a day now. And with this 1,000 cats, a lot of them are actually being taken out for rehoming. So impoundment no longer equals to death. Impoundment actually could potentially result in rehoming. So all of these efforts, they're not, short-term efforts. There's no short-term gratification in what we do. We actually have to go out and persuade a lot of people to buy into this very long-term vision of what we're doing. But because we now have this data, I can show you and say, look, every contribution from every single individual, whether they saw one cat and helped it get sterilized, whether they fed one cat responsibly, all of these efforts go in, and there is such a reduction in the number of, in the loss of life. We don't have to say that there's been unnecessary loss of life. If we do this for another 20 years, maybe we can drop it down to under 100. It's like, COVID, right now we are in 15 cases a day, 11 cases a day. Did we think this was possible before? No. But we can totally achieve this. And that's what we're talking about, a long-term vision for what we want in a humane society. So in the next slide, I think that's a pie chart. Yes, there you go. So the pie chart will show you how much we spend each year, and it's over $700,000. Last year was, this year is $742,000 in my budget. 66% of this is on sterilizations, 20% is on mediation. So we have 3 staff and 3 staff only. Last year they did 3,000 cases, which is 1,000 cases per person divided by 12 months. It's insane. The number of cases that we're getting for people asking for help to choose humane options is incredible. This is, it's an insane workload on my staff. But we need to continue it. And we're fully appreciative that they put in so much of their time and effort for this. So what we'd love is for the society to get involved. And really, it's not difficult to get involved. If you look at this slide on your screen now, the question is, what can I do, right? There's 3 things that you can do. Anybody can do this. One is to act. So you should volunteer with organizations. You can, if the place runs a shelter, CWS doesn't have a shelter, but other people who do rescue work do. And they can use help with cleaning up, with, if you did a collection in your neighborhood for towels or newspapers, that helps. If they have merchandise, shop with them. Choose your Christmas gifts from them, because that dollar matters to people like us a lot more than it matters to business as well. Maybe with COVID, not so much. Okay, don't say I said it. But with, you know what I mean? If you choose to help a charity with your purchases, that's very great. Practice what we advocate. For example, when we push for adoptions, we're doing it because we truly believe that adoption saves lives. And if you can convince, let's say, your sister, your cousin, your neighbor, don't buy, adopt. That's one more life that you can save, even without you having to bear the burden of it. You just had to talk to them, right? Another way is to donate. Whether this is a monthly donation, whether it's an annual donation, parking aside, $10, $20, $50 to a charity, to an organization. Hell, if you want to put $100, choose 3 organizations and put the money into them. All of that money does matter to the charities, and everybody is held to a very high accounting standard. So, the money doesn't go to human beings, right? We're not an NKF sort of situation 20 years ago. We are really here to put the money back into the animals and help them. And rescue work and the sterilization costs, the vet bills, they are not cheap. So even if, let's say your neighbor rescues cats and they are paying vet bills, you can offer them some financial assistance. You can help them buy a bag of cat food, help all of these individuals, help the organizations that are trying to help them as well. Now, on the education front, this is very important for, for me to go and tell my network of friends that, hey, choose to adopt. Hey, don't do this. Hey, don't do that. I'm going to be a lot more persuasive because I'm talking to them friend to friend, as opposed to I, as a CWS person, if I go to a place and I say, I want to convince you about something, you may not actually believe me as much because you don't know who I am. So I first have to establish credibility with you. So in your networks, you are a very strong proponent of what the animal charities work on. So moving on, that's actually it. There's not very much moving on to do. I saw a comment from somebody who said that sterilization is a very big sin. I just wanted to say that I think the greater sin and the greater act of stupidity would be to not sterilize an animal and leave it there without resources. That to me would be a greater act of cruelty, when you cannot provide for an ever-growing population of animals. So, okay, so last slide. Why should I get involved with animals? I know it's like a lot of people think, oh, animals are very cute, but the human beings also need help. I agree with that. Everybody needs help. But in terms of the amount of resources and the amount of people helping animals is a lot fewer than the resources available to the needy people. And I also don't see why people have to choose human beings to help or animals to help. You can choose to help both just by making a life choice, just by educating about adoption, for example. So you should always get involved with animals. It is part of our responsibility to care. To Jude, Nathan, whoever you are, if we're not asking you to become a cat in order to believe in sterilization. We're talking about a situation when overpopulation results in the death of an animal. If a person is not sterilized, they can choose, because they have a greater IQ, to engage in certain behaviors that don't result in an overpopulation. Right? So for this reason, you must take an active step in humanely managing the population. It is either neutering or death. And to me, neutering is the more sensible option. You can choose to agree or disagree, and I'm going to maintain my view on this. So with that, thank you very much, everybody, for listening in on this chat.
Thank you so much, Tinduka. Thank you, Safia. Wait, hold on. After Meishan, we'll have some question and answer. Thanks for answering the question nicely. Okay, Meishan.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sharing my screen. Just want to check if you all can see.
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. So before I start, I actually want to give special thanks to Nimi for being able to invite me, the group, to this talk. I see there's ACRES and there's also cat welfare. So I mean, these are very big groups and very established. So thank you for even inviting us to be able to share on par with the large groups. I would like to say that I really appreciate the work that ACRES does, and there are many times that I have engaged their help to, you know, when we pick up like injured monitor lizard that was knocked down or some injured animal. So they're always very responsive and you know, being able to at least, you know, nowadays that there's an injured wildlife, there's a place that I will be able to send the animal to, as opposed to last time when, you know, I called the vet and then there's like no vets who are able to take in these wildlife. So I really appreciate that. And also sometimes we work with cat welfare also when we pick up kittens or there are any cats that we pick up and see along the way to sterilize. So I think it's good that we have this talk today so we can see how the different ways that we can help animals, whether you're a cat lover, dog lover, and also whether you're a wildlife lover. So all these are all animals anyway, and I think we shouldn't differentiate lah. Yeah, so just want to share with you, so why we call ourselves Joyous Bug. So you can look at the logo, right? So why we have a small bee and the ark? Because I think we wanted to bring upon this idea that, you know, Noah's Ark, right? So you actually have this place where it's like a shelter, a place where we can get the animal rescued and to a home. So that's why we call ourselves Joyous Bug, to have some positivity. Yeah, we don't really have a shelter right now, so we actually engage help of people who are able to do fostering in homes. So that's in way helping to take care of the dogs. Okay, so yeah, we are actually a small group of private rescuers. What we do is we aim to rescue dogs which are injured, whether they are mummy dogs, whether they are old dogs, sick dogs. So all kinds of dogs we take in, and then we try to rehabilitate them, and eventually we will rehome our Singapore specials. So along the way, we actually have encountered dogs which have been abandoned, senior dogs, or even dogs which are ill. So we also take them in as well. But our primary aim is actually to help reduce the population as well, to rehome the dogs. We call them Singapore specials. So these could be dogs which are in factory areas. They could be like located in a forest, or they could be hit and run, depending on the situation. So what are some of the things we do? We do stray feeding as well. So we work with, we actually go to these industry areas. So we try to get to know the dogs which we feed. So part of it, then we will try to rescue those which are injured, or let's say we have a pregnant dog, those which are hit and run, because these areas have a lot of heavy vehicles, and many times you see the dogs hit by lorries, or they could be injured caught in some traps or wires. Somebody actually injured them. So after that, we try to assess and see if they can be rehome. So try as much as possible. We try our best to rehome like most of the dogs that we rescue in. These could be puppies as well, and including mummy dogs. So after that, we try to rehab them, get them used to basic commands, how to interact with children, how to interact with people in the home setting. Then we will also work with other AWGs, other animal welfare groups, such as SOSD or CAS, Causes for Animals. So sometimes we will join in their adoption drives when the events organized by other, let's say, People's Association. So what we do is we also join in, and then we will put up the dogs for adoption during these adoption drives. Yep. So these are some of the animals that we have rescued along the way. So over here on the right, you can actually see this mastiff, right? Was actually, we didn't know it was a mastiff, so it was actually abandoned along the road and had no more hair left. So after which we managed to get it medical help and rehab. Turns out that it was abandoned, but we couldn't locate the owner. But after about 1-2 years later, we actually worked with the larger organizations and we managed to get him home. So this is the Mastiff. So the other one is also, you can see a dog on the right. You can see she's wearing diapers, right? So initially she was also diagnosed with TBT. So many of these stray animals, they actually have sexually transmitted diseases which are not treated. So if we actually informed by, let's say, the factory owners, or we are informed by people who observe, right? So we try to get them medical treatment. So she's also currently rehomed to a family. On the left, also another dog. You can see that he's actually just gone through operations and multiple fractures. So it took quite a long time for him to recover from the multiple fractures. So now he's also rehomed. And you can also see that sometimes we also take in many litters of puppies with the mummy dog as well. So again, we also align with the cat welfare groups as well. The way to go is actually to sterilize them. So once we see that they are puppies, right, it's easier to get hold of the mummy dogs. So after they are weaned off the milk, right, then we actually get them sterilized. And also we try our best to get them rehome as well. So there has been quite many successful cases, and some of the adopters actually find that adult dogs are so easier to manage. Whilst puppies, they go through teething and chewing stuff and be quite a handful. Yeah. Yeah, so these are some of the work that we do, and I think we have been setting up this organization for about 6 years for now. So we can actually see like the effect of getting the dogs to be sterilized, because previously, right, we had a lot of challenges that you have to struggle to bail the dogs out from the pound, and it was like 10 dogs at one go, because you have like a litter of kittens, a litter of puppies and a litter of mummy dogs. So at one time you might have to bail like 2 or 3 mummy dogs with the puppies. So it's very difficult. And but now with the sterilization efforts, right, and the help from the groups to get them sterilized, so you can see that over there's only left about 20 to 30 dogs in the areas that we manage. So that is actually much more manageable, and people also have less complaints because they don't see the dogs gathering as a group, so they don't feel so scared by all these animals. Yep. Yeah, so this is a little sharing from our little group. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you. Don't know why there's no sound.
Nimi?
Nimi, unmute and talk, Nimi.
Okay, thanks. You all never hear me. Okay, thanks, Tenuka, Anbu, Meishan, and Safia for giving this speech. We learned a lot. I learned a lot. Okay, can we go to the question and answer? Okay. Well, okay. Anybody has any answer? You can unmute the button and unmute, and then start asking the question. Can we just have one question? There's a question in the chat group. Okay. I don't know whether you can answer it or whatever. It's about keeping large breeds who are non-ferocious in HDB houses. Instead, like, did you all like, this question can go to Meishan. Meishan, is there any way that we can get large dogs approved for HDB?
I think that question is from Mahesh, is it?
Yeah, Mahesh.
Mahesh, sorry. I can't speak for the authorities, but I know that they have actually been working quite closely with the animal welfare representatives. So now their larger Singapore specials they have actually increased the size requirement for Singapore specials to be adopted into HDB flats already. And I think even in some situations, they are able to adopt more than 1 dog. So I think it's by case basis. So I'm not sure what are the dog breeds they're talking about, but I think they could actually inquire with the authorities.
Okay,
because we do adoption, so what I know is that now they actually allow larger Singapore specials to be adopted into the HDBs.
So do you know the exact size of it?
think now they increased the height to about 55 cm, 55, 58 cm.
55, 58 cm, huh? Okay, so maybe Mahesh, that's your thing. Either approach AVS, right?
Yeah, or the animal welfare groups that you want to adopt the dog from. So they will tell you the dogs that are HDB approved.
Ah, okay, okay. Ken, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Anbu from Acres can help us with this question. It's about, hold on. Okay. What are we doing to save the pigeons? More town council are poisoning them. Please help.
Yep. Thank you so much for asking that question. It is one of the burning issue that we are also trying to tackle. We rescue about 30 to 40, at least 30 to 40 poison pigeons every month. Some days, in one day, we may pick up to 70 poison pigeons. So why this happens is because people complain, and there is an overpopulation of pigeons in Singapore. And when they defecate on people's laundry or windows, and people complain, and currently what town council does is to they engage pest control companies to cull them. So they throw food that is laced with poison, bait, so the pigeons will eat, but not just pigeons eat, other animals, other birds also eat. We have had dogs who have been affected, pet dogs who have been affected as well. If a child picks it up and eats also, they will get affected. But at the end of the day, it is very inhumane because actually Mahesh also asked that question before that if the pigeons eat it, what happens to them? They actually have seizures, they convulse, they suffer a lot before they die a slow, painful death. They cannot even coordinate themselves. So what we have been trying to do is to write to town councils. A lot of times we write to MPs, to advisors. We actually encourage the residents to also write. I mean, pigeons are just there. They don't do anything to us. Like, why would you want to complain to remove them? At the end, they get culled, and but it happens. So we want people to write into their town councils to tell that they are not okay with culling, and there are alternative methods. Mainly the food sources need to be cut down. It happens because people are feeding pigeons directly and indirectly. I've had some of my friends' families who give rice every day outside their window, and pigeons come and eat. We have to stop all of that. It cannot happen, and pigeons will reproduce more. They will start hanging around the window. They defecate, and the droppings go and fall on the neighbor's laundry. They complain, and the pigeons get a death sentence. So we have to stop feeding the wild animals like pigeons and other wild animals. And when it comes to also the public sentiments, we also need people to write to their town councils. In closed door work, in advocacy work, we have submitted a position paper with an alternative project to manage pigeon population humanely in Singapore. It involves, adjusting the design in certain HDB estates and to completely stop feeding, which means you have to really issue a summon and give them a penalty when people feed pigeons. So we have actually proposed this through a position paper. Nothing went through after more than 1.5 years, 2 years. Now we are trying to host a roundtable with town councils, which is hopefully going to happen before end of this year. But it's still a closed door. But meanwhile, as residents, please write to your town council to voice against pigeon culling.
Thank you so much, Anbu. Anbu, so can I get it that you are saying that we totally should stop feeding at all?
Feeding any wild animals. So please don't mistake this with feeding community animals. There's a structured program for it. Volunteers do it, and they need to be fed, like community cats and dogs who are also there, who need to have their feeding done. I'm talking about wild animals like pigeons, miners, wild boars, monkeys. So please don't feed them. So when they get, basically like rats, right, they actually reproduce more when there's more food available. Like that, other animals who live outside also, they actually will reproduce more if there are more food available. If instead of 10 cups of rice they get 2 cups of rice, their reproductive cycles will be lesser. So we are actually artificially changing that, and then they end up getting a death sentence at the end of the day. So like other sterilization projects, we can't sterilize pigeons, right? So it's going to be, they're free flying. So we need to really manage the food source first. And I'm not saying that town councils have no choice. They do have other ways that they can manage. So we need people to write into them to say that this is not okay. Yeah.
Okay. One more thing, Anbu, I just asked, where do the pigeons get the food if let's say we don't feed them?
Okay, so they eat mainly grains. So there is a lot of seeds that can be fed by them, eaten by them in a lot of grass patches around. I have even seen them, you know, grass car parks. We have a car park here, which is a semi-grass car park, and the grass has seeds. And I have seen pigeons and spotted doves sit there and eat for hours. I don't know what they're eating, but they're eating grains that fall from the grass and everything. So state lands also, pigeons go and hang out there to eat. So we don't have to worry about their food, but we also have to remember that if the food sources come down, the breeding will also come down. So they are quite naturally so brilliant that they will only breed based on the food availability. So they will
Okay.
actually breed less, less.
Thank you so much, Anbu. Thank you. The next question, thanks a lot. The next question is Tenuka. Maybe you want to answer. What will you all do to the owners moving out of the country? I'm talking about expats, those who want to give up the dog because they are moving out.
Okay, so this happens a lot. Owners who are moving out of the country, they have two options, right? One is obviously the better one, which is to bring their animals with them. You won't leave your kids behind, right? So don't leave your cats behind, lah. So you bring the animals with you. Two, if you really cannot. So for example, some animals cannot take flights. I think for some dogs, like the British Bulldog, if it's too flat, it actually cannot take a flight because the risk of death is very high. Similarly, for flat-faced cats, the risk could be very high. So those animals, then go and rehome them. Find another person to take over because these animals are not going to make it in the community, and there's a reason why abandonment is an act of cruelty and is penalized under the law. So those are your main options, lah. There was a second question, Nirmala, if I can assist
Yes,
to
please.
answer that as
Yeah.
well. About the potential decline in the number of species and the potential endangerment of a species. Okay, look, if you were in some sort of a universe where really there were no new cats being born at all in the world, which like next to zero, right? The chances of this ever happening, then yes, there's a theoretical possibility in one of the parallel universes, like in Marvel. But in Singapore and worldwide, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Simply because you will always have pockets of unsterilized cats contributing to the population. All the rescue groups will tell you, no matter where we go to sterilize cats, inevitably kittens will turn up because somebody would have missed one male and one female somewhere. Or even in our communities under the blocks, in private estates, anywhere, people might have dumped their cats. And if those cats are unsterilized, the population again grows. So practically speaking, it will never happen. If it was going to happen in the last 20, 30 years of CWS existing, we should have seen a decline in population that was far greater. We've been sterilizing 46,000 cats. I mean, surely that should tell you that it's never going to happen, that there's going to be a zero growth. The supply in that sense is there because unsterilized cats are always going to turn up. The difference is that if you can find if you are as a cat owner concerned about this kind of stuff, if you have a sterilized pet and you have the capacity to look after another, you can go out and help another cat, right? You can expend your resources over 2 adopted cats instead, and that helps to reduce the population on the ground. So back to the point about whether it's ever going to happen that cats will become extinct. I think the answer is no, and it's almost impossible that this will ever occur in our lifetimes for sure.
Thank you so much, Tenuka. Thank you. I think can take one last question.
I think there's one from Edwina.
Edwina, she was saying that where I say mynas and pigeons have party each time we have grass cutters cutting the large patch of grass field.
Yes, that's
it'll be
after the insects and all the seeds that are fluttering around, so they get their food from grass cutting also.
It will be good to do like have a paragraph or something about this, what you just said, that the grass is at food, right? So that people all will know that, oh, there is food available to them, they won't stop. Maybe then they will stop feeding.
I agree. Yeah, we can come up with because that's a concern for feeders. So they think that they don't have enough food. So yeah, we can do that.
That's the thing we feel. Even when another thing, during the 7th month, I saw a lot of food there. Then the pigeon, the population was increasing because there was food available there for long.
We have more monkey sightings also. during this period because of leftover food offering, which is not intended for monkey. So it is an indirect food provision, but the monkey doesn't know that this food is not for him or her, so they go and take it. And what happens is they will return again and again to the estate. And particularly after this month is over, they keep coming back and they're looking for food because there's no more offerings there. So it usually results in conflict situations. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Any questions? One last question.
There was a question about zoos. If there is time, I can just address it very quickly.
Okay, sure, sure.
So there was a question from Jude Nathan about way to help the poor animals at the zoo and how COVID staying at home, like the zoos in quarantine, how will they suffer? What are they feeling? So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. There was somebody saying, I received a message saying keeping animals in zoo is bad. So need to ask you.
Well, personally, I would really wish all wild animals are left in the wild. But again, the zoo community has been progressing over years. There are some zoos which have been very progressive. For example, in India, right? If I were to go and open a zoo, I cannot keep an elephant in the zoo. I cannot have an elephant enclosure. So things are changing. I cannot have a dolphinarium in India. So there are countries that are progressing and changing because there are certain animals like elephants, big cats, bears, and marine mammals like dolphins and whales. They cannot cope well in captivity. So if a country is progressing in the right direction, they start keeping these animals in captivity. So, so if really people want to see wild animals, I would encourage you to watch them in the wild and go support a wildlife center. There are some good zoos. There are some really very suboptimal zoos. So if you go as a tourist and visit, please find one thing, ask yourself whether you want to support. The second thing is if you see something, how can you voice it out? Can you say that like you're keeping things like I mentioned, it all boils down to what people pay to see. Facilities don't exist because they want to be cruel to animals. They exist because they can still make profit. So we have done zoo animal welfare work before. We have worked with the zoos in Malaysia to actually even review the legislation related to zoo animals there. But currently, because of funding situation, all that we have stopped that work, paused that work because there's a lot of local issues that we need to work on. So what we did, one of the local ones was the Resorts World Sentosa on keeping dolphins, wild caught dolphins in captivity. Yeah. And actually, ACRES was formed because of an incident, entertainment incident at the Singapore Zoo. Our founder was a volunteer there. So it started off with speaking up for zoo animals first.
Wow. Oh, wow, wow. Good, good, good. Hey, thank you so much. It's now 6 o'clock. Anbu, Tenuga, Safia, and Mishan, it was a wonderful speech from you. I learned a lot. Okay, I learned a lot. Means others have learned more than me also. Wonderful, wonderful things you said, and for you all to be there, so dedicated, passionate for animals. It actually,
Sorry, Nimmi, can I ask one last question from Miss Anbu?
Yes,
Just
yes.
one last question.
Yeah, 1 minute. 1 minute. So the thing is, thank you so much for all this information you gave. And later, you know, when other people ask questions, like we can have it like offline also, right? Thank you. Okay, the last question. Who is this?
This is Rosina. Okay.
Rosina, yeah.
Okay. Miss Anbu was talking about culling of pigeons and all that because of feeding and all that, right? But I'm just wondering what suggestions she could give to the town council to manage these pigeons. Are there any suggestions? I mean, even if we don't feed, right, the pigeons, okay, what other, what suggestions could she give to the town council to manage this pigeon population from being found?
Okay. Thank you so much for asking this. I will very quickly go through some pointers, but I will leave my email address and I can send you the paper that we sent to them. So number one is to reduce the food sources. So already pigeon feeding is illegal. So they need to take very active enforcement action. So it will deter people. But again, to have a very intensive education campaign, like what Mimi just shared, people who feed need to know that pigeons have enough food. And by feeding them, they are causing a problem for the pigeons because people who really love pigeons will when they learn that they are causing trouble, they will stop doing it. Tampines Town Council did one pilot one before, and I thought it was really good. They actually write how many complaints for pigeons they received for the feeders. They put it out there nicely. I thought that was pretty good as well. There were other things that we also suggested, which includes having an oral contraceptive. There is actually an oral contraceptive for pigeons. So this is for real. So we suggested use of that and engaging the feeders to give this instead. That will bring down the reproductive cycles. It doesn't make them sterile, but it will just reduce the reproductive cycles, and it doesn't have an ill effect otherwise on their health or on other birds. It's been scientifically proven. And the last one is if we can have another way of controlling population through egg collection. So if you have a dovecote, we can actually collect the eggs instead of letting them hatch, but also for the parent birds to sit on fake eggs so they don't miss the eggs that have been laid. So instead of cruelly culling them, if we can use a combination of these methods, but it definitely has to start with intensive educational campaigns.
Thank you so much, Ms. Anbu. Thank you.
This is my email address. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, speakers. Coming together for the World Animal Day program, and thank you everybody. And I never thank you properly. Okay, just now, I was saying that thank you for your dedication, your passion to the animals, and sharing all this information to us. I'm sure that from now onwards, like these people will now hopefully help animals, all of you. Okay, thank you for supporting. And okay, we have come to the end. Joyce, would you like to say something?
Yes. Actually, Nimi is supposed to do the closing, but it was such a wonderful session. It was full of sharing and so much of information from all three speakers, all four speakers.
4 speakers.
Yes, 4 speakers. Thank you so much from the bottom of, on the behalf of Lisha Women's Wing Exco, a big thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you
all.
Thank you very much. Okay,
thank
bye.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting and
can we
coming on.
Can I stop Facebook Live and recording?
Yes, please.
Can.
And take a picture, Jabi, please.
Yeah. Okay.
Can everybody on their video so Anu can take a picture?